I don't hear my alarm the first time it goes off. When the beeping finally registers, I jolt upright in bed, fumbling for my phone. It's 7:00 a.m., and a wave of grogginess sweeps over me. My name is Cole. I'm a 25-year-old grad student at a university in Southern California, though my home is a small town in East Texas. Sometimes I wonder if I'll ever get used to the pace of life out here. Faster, more crowded, everyone always on the move. I rub my eyes and stare at the muted sunlight filtering in through the cheap blinds of my studio apartment. Usually, my first thought is about classes, or the experiment I need to run in the campus lab. But this morning, something else nags at the back of my mind. Last night, while finishing a biology report, I stumbled across a strange local news item on social media: unexplained aggression in certain neighborhoods. People attacking each other, some eyewitness accounts describing monsters that vanish into crowds. But the article was full of speculation, lacking any real substance, so I told myself it was typical alarmism. Yet I can't shake the uneasy feeling it left me with. I shuffle to the bathroom, stepping over unwashed dishes and a textbook-littered floor. The mirror above the sink shows a reflection of someone who needs sleep: bleary eyes, hair too long over the ears, faint stubble on my chin. I ran out of razors last week and keep forgetting to buy more. My phone buzzes, startling me. I wipe a circle in the steamed-up mirror with the sleeve of my hoodie, then glance at the text. Cole, are you hearing about these weird attacks near campus? Be careful out there, please. The text was from Megan. She's an undergrad lab assistant in the biology department, and we've grown closer over the past semester. She's originally from Northern California, a total perfectionist, but with a kind heart that reminds me a bit of home. I text Megan back, replying, "Yeah, I saw something online. Probably a hoax or some random acts of violence. Are you doing okay?" I wait, but no immediate reply. Outside, a siren wails heading east. Another sign something is off. My neighborhood is generally quiet, a mix of students and older retirees. The siren fades, and I tell myself not to overthink it. I turn on the shower and let the water run, half expecting it to be cold again. The landlord's solution to everything is, just let it run a bit, and sure enough, the shower water starts lukewarm before turning scalding hot. I jump back, cursing under my breath. As the water evens out, I step in, trying to think through the day's schedule. I have a biochemistry lab at 9:00 a.m. Plus I'm supposed to meet my professor, Dr. Jones, about my thesis research on a newly discovered bacteriophage. Typically, that alone would be enough to keep me preoccupied, but now I can't stop imagining the headlines from last night. Aggressive individuals unidentified, possible viral cause. It was speculation, but that speculation resonates with me, maybe because I study microorganisms, and I know how easily some new pathogen can slip through the cracks of public awareness until it's too late. Even the smallest virus, if it mutates right, can bring entire populations to their knees. The shower ends. I dress quickly, jeans, hiking boots, the battered old Texas Rangers cap my uncle gave me, and check my phone again for Megan's reply. Still no text back from her. That's unlike Megan, as she's usually glued to her phone. Tossing a textbook and laptop into my backpack, I step outside. The weather is drab and cold, an unusual gloom pressing down on me. The courtyard of my building is silent except for the distant hum of traffic. A neighbor's door stands ajar. I hesitate for a moment, feeling that spike of paranoia that's been edging into my mind since last night. A middle-aged man, the neighbor, steps out. He's wearing a stained t-shirt and cargo shorts, eyes flicking around nervously. "Hey," I say politely, forcing my best neighborly nod. He barely reacts, just mumbles something and pulls his door shut. I notice he fumbles to lock it at least 3 times before the key goes in. Well, that was strange, but probably nothing, I tell myself. Just a stressed-out dude. But I hurry down the stairs anyway, nearly bumping into a teenage girl texting on her phone. She barely moves aside as a whiff of smoke follows her. At the bottom of the stairs, I step onto the sidewalk. For a moment, all seems normal. Cars pass by, a dog walker checks her watch, a street vendor sets up a little coffee cart near the bus stop. but there's an undercurrent of tension here that I can't quite describe. I notice 2 police cruisers speed by, lights flashing but with no siren. They vanish around a corner, and once again I feel that flutter of anxiety in my stomach. This can't just be random. I make my way toward campus, deciding to cut through a back alley. My phone pings again, and I flip it open to see a new text from Megan. I'm heading to the student health center. They're saying the weird attacks might have infected some people with a virus. I don't know if it's real or just rumors, but I want to help. Where are you? My heart constricts. Was it really a virus? If that's true, then last night's speculation wasn't just random online chatter. I reply to Megan, on my way. Please be careful. I glance around. The sky's still gray, no sign of sunlight breaking through, like nature itself is holding its breath. Some primal instinct tells me to turn around, go back to my apartment, lock the door. But I swallow that fear. I'm a biology student. I study things like viruses and pathogens. If something truly dangerous is on the loose, maybe I can help. I continue walking, crossing the street as a group of students rushes by, talking quietly among themselves. I can't catch all the words, but I hear them say, some people not looking infected at first and changing in front of everyone. That phrase, changing, makes the hair on my arm stand on end. As I near campus, the phone in my pocket vibrates with an emergency alert. It's not a text, but one of those official push notifications. The screen flashes a red banner, emergency alert. Zombies are among us, hide immediately. For a moment, my rational mind refuses to process it. No way there are zombies. We've all seen the pop culture references, the comedic memes. This can't be real. The phone continues vibrating, as though demanding I read it again. And there it is, plain as day. Zombies. I look around, half expecting everyone to panic, but everything remains oddly subdued, people either not having seen the alert yet or not believing it. Then, in a chain reaction, phones start beeping and buzzing. Confused voices rise all around me. A group of sorority girls behind me read the alert out loud, their voices rising in a panicked chorus. Someone else curses, slaps at their phone like it must be a prank. A jogger stops in his tracks, removing earbuds, eyes wide. And then I hear the first scream. It comes from somewhere near the campus library, a raw, terrified sound that jolts everyone out of their denial. I sprint toward the library, adrenaline flooding my system. As I round the corner, I see a small crowd gathered near the courtyard fountain. A figure stumbles, collapses to the ground. Another figure stands over them, face contorted with unhinged rage. I can't see details clearly, but the attacker's posture is twisted. Then, impossibly, they seem to shift, like their skin is losing its color, eyes bulging, mouth stretching wide as if dislocating. A sickening series of cracks follow, a metamorphosis that makes my stomach churn. The victim screams again, and the attacker lunges downward, biting into the victim's shoulder with horrifying force. Blood splatters as several onlookers cry out in revulsion. The attacker's skin now appears mottled, a diseased pallor that spreads from face to neck to arms. My heart hammers. This is not some Hollywood set. This is real. Instinct screams at me to run, but my rational brain also tries to piece it together. The attacker was normal-looking moments ago. Now they're changed, decaying before our eyes. Is this the virus? Something that triggers a rapid transformation into a zombie-like state. I clench my jaw, forcing myself to look away. Several other people finally intervene, though in a terrified, disorganized way. Someone throws a backpack at the attacker. Another tries to kick them off the victim. It doesn't help much. The attacker snarls, a guttural sound that sends icy fear through my veins. Swallowing hard, I move behind a statue, using the concrete base as cover. My phone rings, and Megan's name appears on the screen. I'm at the health center, she says the moment I pick up. Her words come fast, breathless. Cole, something's happening. They're calling them zombies, but they're not the slow, mindless type. Some of them hide how they look, then change in an instant. One of the nurses was attacked and I saw. She breaks off, voice shaking. Megan, calm down. Are you safe? Yes, for now. But they've locked down the building. People are turning. They look normal 1 second, then they're like those things. Her voice edges toward hysteria. Cole, I'm scared. Stay put, I say, peeking around the statue. More screams echo across the courtyard. I'll come find you. We'll figure this out. Just don't trust anyone who looks suspicious, okay? If they start acting weird, get away immediately. She sniffles, tries to breathe, hurry. The call ends. I want to race straight to the health center, but there's a zombie in the courtyard blocking the main walkway. Another wave of bystanders tries to subdue it, only for 2 of them to get bitten. It's a bloodbath, and the attacker shows no remorse, no hesitation, just pure animalistic hunger. My heart is slamming against my ribs as I realize that every second I delay, Megan could be in danger. There's another route if I cut around the back of the chemistry building, though it means running through narrower corridors. But maybe the narrower path is safer. I steel myself, take one last look at the carnage, and sprint in the opposite direction. A few other students do the same, scattering in small groups. The campus is large and labyrinthine. I duck past the vacant quad, past the deserted snack cart. I nearly collide with a girl who looks as panicked as I feel. You know what's going on, she gasps. Zombies, I manage, though the word sounds ridiculous in my own mouth. They can pass for normal. Keep moving. We exchange a mutual look of horror, then part ways. She heads toward the parking lot. I keep pushing toward the health center. Along the way, I see glimpses of the madness. A professor fighting off a student in the hall, the student's face half twisted in a partial transformation. 2 campus security guards carrying a wounded colleague. The wails of the injured mingle with the random ringing of phones. Some automated system or phone app keeps repeating, emergency alert, zombies are among us, hide immediately. At last, I spot the health center's big glass doors. The interior lights flicker behind the frosted glass. I push forward. Inside, I see a figure approach, then pause. It's me, I shout, voice echoing. Cole Bradshaw. The figure hesitates, eventually unlocks the door just enough to speak through a crack. It's a security volunteer wearing a reflective vest over scrubs. She looks exhausted and wary. We're under lockdown, she snaps, suspicious. You could be infected. I'm not, I protest. I haven't been bitten, I swear. Megan Hollies is inside, she called me. Please let me in. She glances over her shoulder. 2 more people in scrubs hover behind her. They confer in urgent whispers. Finally, she unlocks the door but holds up a trembling hand. I have to check you. Roll up your sleeves. Show me your arms, your torso. I do as she says, ignoring the flush of embarrassment as I yank my hoodie off and lift my t-shirt. My skin is pale with goosebumps but no bites. She looks me in the eyes, checking for any sign of transformation. I stand still, heart pounding. Fine, she finally says, stepping aside. But if you show even the slightest sign of turning, she doesn't finish. I suspect the end of that sentence is, we'll kill you. I slip inside, and the door slams shut behind me. The hallway is chaotic, patients on stretchers, nurses and volunteers rushing around. The overhead fluorescents are flickering, making everyone look sallow and haunted. Cries echo from behind exam room doors. The stench of antiseptic, sweat, and coppery blood turns my stomach. Megan, I call out. Where are you? The hand grabs my arm. I spin, ready to fight, but it's her, Megan. Her brown hair is pulled back in a messy ponytail, face streaked with tears. She looks terrified and relieved all at once. Yo, thank God. I was afraid. She chokes on the words and flings her arms around me. I hug her tightly, the tension in my muscles easing for half a second. I'm okay, I murmur against her hair, mostly. She pulls back, eyes rimmed red. People keep coming in, bitten, infected. Some we can't do anything for. And a few seemed fine at first, but then turned. She glances at a closed door down the hallway. A heavy metal cabinet has been shoved in front of it. We had to barricade them in. A wave of cold revulsion sweeps over me. I swallow hard. We need to figure out how this disease works, I say. If it's viral, maybe we can find a way to treat it or at least slow it. Megan nods, blinking tears away. We've tried to isolate some blood samples, but everything's chaos. Half the staff fled when people started turning on each other. In the corner, I see Dr. Jones, my thesis advisor, rummaging through a med cart. He's an older man with a trimmed salt and pepper beard. There's blood on his lab coat. I rush to him, Megan following close behind. Dr. Jones, I call. Are you all right? What the hell is going on? He looks up, eyes tired behind his glasses. Cole, glad you made it, he gestures to Megan. We were getting worried about you both. As for what's going on, he exhales shakily. It's an infection that appears to be viral in nature. It accelerates necrosis in the tissues, but also produces hyper-aggressive behavior. Victims can appear normal in the early stages, then snap, they transform. Full symptomatic shift in minutes, sometimes seconds. Megan and I exchange horrified looks. She whispers, if it's that fast, how do we contain it? We might not, Dr. Jones says grimly. Unless we can find a vulnerability in the viral structure. We need better lab equipment. The health center's tests are rudimentary. If we had the advanced lab in the biology department. He cuts off as a loud crash sounds from somewhere in the building. Shouts follow. A chill grips me. There's no guarantee even this place is safe. We can't do much with this many wounded anyway. Dr. Jones continues in a rush. Security's crumbling. We have to decide whether to stay or go. An amplified voice blares from outside, an emergency broadcast echoing over campus loudspeakers. Attention, a state of emergency has been declared. An unknown virus is causing infected individuals to transform and attack others. They can hide among the healthy population until the virus triggers. Avoid contact, do not trust individuals acting strangely, and do not let yourself be bitten. The broadcast repeats. Each time I hear the words, they can hide among us, a new wave of fear hits. Cole, Megan says, voice trembling. We can't stay here. I nod, but if we leave, where do we go? The campus is overrun. Dr. Jones rubs his temples, thinking. We have a chance to do real work in the main biology lab. Better containment units, better screening tests. If we can replicate the virus in vitro, maybe we can figure out how it spread so quickly. He meets my gaze. Or we can try to get off campus entirely, find a safer location. But that means we'd be leaving everyone here without a cure. I look around at the wounded, the chaos. Megan's eyes lock on mine. She's torn between survival and the moral imperative to help. They'll be safer if we can figure out how to stop the virus, right? I say slowly. Yes, Dr. Jones says, his tone resolute now. And the lab might be more defensible. That building has heavy doors, labs with negative pressure rooms. If we can gather a few people who are uninfected, Megan glances at me. I'm with you, Cole. If that means going to the lab, then okay. Part of me just wants to grab Megan and run for the hills, but I know it won't solve anything long-term. If this virus is as contagious and lethal as it seems, running only delays the inevitable. I swallow hard, let's go. We manage to assemble a small group. Me, Megan, Dr. Jones, 2 med students named Alex and Sarah, and a campus security officer named Bill. Bill is pale, sweaty, but insists he's not bitten. He claims the stress is just getting to him. I decide to keep a close eye on him. We move through the health center corridors, stepping over shattered glass and debris. The place is eerily silent now, except for occasional moans or distant screams. Most survivors have barricaded themselves in waiting rooms, offices, storage closets, anywhere to hide from the infected. Bill has a gun, but only a single spare magazine. He looks like he'd rather be anywhere else. We gotta be quick, he mutters. These things, they're cunning. Not the old school arms out, slow shambler. They can pass as normal folks. And they're fast. I recall the moment in the courtyard, how that person looked so normal, then shifted into that half-rotten monster in a flash. I nod grimly, gripping the metal pipe I grabbed from a supply closet. I've never been a fan of guns, but the pipe in my hands feels woefully inadequate. We reach a side exit, but the door is jammed. Megan and I pull it open with a shrieking wrench of metal. A cold draft hits us, carrying the faint copper scent of blood. Dr. Jones peers outside. The campus is almost unrecognizable, alarm lights flashing from building to building, debris scattered on walkways, and in the distance, I can see a cluster of shapes shambling or sprinting. It's hard to tell which. We slip out, hugging the wall of the health center. The biology building isn't far, just across a small lawn and a walkway. But that walkway feels like a mile of exposed territory. Let's do this carefully, Bill says, adjusting his grip on the gun. I'll go first. Keep your eyes open for anything suspicious. If someone looks normal but tries to approach, stay alert. They could be infected, we nod. My heart thumps painfully. I can practically taste the fear. One by one we move out. The lawn is dark and dotted with patches of trampled grass. A solitary lamp flickers overhead. My boots crunch on broken glass from a light fixture. Alex, the med student, starts whispering something that sounds like a prayer. Sarah is scanning every shadow. I see movement in the corner of my eye, a shape staggering near a cluster of bushes. Bill immediately raises his weapon, but the shape disappears. We pick up the pace, half jogging now. Every nerve in my body screams. The main doors to the biology building come into view, a towering structure of glass and steel. I exhale shakily. Almost there. Suddenly, a figure stumbles into the open from behind a parked truck. It's a student, wearing a hoodie with a Greek letter fraternity on it. He's panting, sweat streaming down his face, eyes wild. Help, he rasps. Please, I'm not infected. They're after me. Immediately, Bill aims his gun. Stay where you are. The student raises his hands shakily. Don't shoot. I haven't been bitten, I swear. Dr. Jones glances at him with pity. We can't just leave him out here if he's healthy. Bill's eyes narrow. Yeah, well, I've seen them lie. A tense silence. Megan steps forward slightly. Show us your arms, she says. No bites, no scratches. He lifts his sleeves. They're clear, except for a small bruise on the forearm. I fell, he says. Sarah steps closer, peering at the bruise. It doesn't look like a bite. Could just be a contusion. We exchange uneasy looks. If this kid is truly healthy, leaving him out here is a death sentence. But if he's hiding an infection, an agonized shriek pierces the darkness from somewhere behind us. That decides it. Come on, Dr. Jones says. We'll keep you in sight. But the moment you show any signs of turning, the student nods frantically. I get it, thank you. We resume our trek, the new addition trailing behind under our watchful eyes. My heart pounds so loud I can barely hear my own thoughts. Soon, we reach the main entrance of the biology building. The glass doors are cracked, one panel shattered. Shards crunch underfoot as we move inside. The lobby is dark, emergency lights flickering overhead. My mind flashes to nights I've spent here, working in the lab, listening to the hum of the ventilation system. Now it feels like a tomb, silent except for the buzzing of broken lights. We form a tight cluster. Labs on the 3rd floor, Dr. Jones whispers. I have a key to the restricted research room. Bill points to the stairwell. The elevator is out, the indicator lights blank. We pass empty offices, silent corridors. My pulse throbs in my ears. At every turn, we expect to see one of those hidden in plain sight zombies, waiting to pounce. But we reach the 3rd floor without incident. Dr. Jones unlocks the door to the research room. Inside are shelves of equipment, lab benches lined with microscopes, centrifuges, incubators, advanced gear that puts the health center's small lab to shame. He flicks the lights. Some come on, others flicker. We should lock ourselves in. We can run tests here, Bill nods. Fine, but we should also check the perimeter, see if anyone's lurking. I volunteer to help him sweep the nearby halls, though my stomach twists at the thought. Megan, stay here. Help Dr. Jones set up. She bites her lip but nods. Please be careful. I follow Bill back into the corridor, pipe in hand while he has the gun drawn. The place feels abandoned, but that means little. These zombies could be around any corner, disguised as a frightened student or a professor. We pass a row of large windows overlooking the street. My breath catches. Outside, the campus is in full nightmare mode. Fires burning in trash cans, random silhouettes stumbling around, the shriek of distant sirens. Is that the National Guard in the distance? I can't tell. We round a corner. Something scuttles across the floor, just a piece of paper drifting in the draft. Bill exhales shakily. Why do you think they can hide as normal humans? I whisper, mostly to distract myself from the oppressive silence. He shakes his head. No clue, but I saw it happen earlier. Someone I knew was bitten. He acted normal for hours, then changed in front of me like flipping a switch. A chill crawls down my spine. If the virus can remain dormant, how many infected are wandering around, passing for healthy, waiting to turn? Suddenly, a door at the end of the hall bangs open. We freeze. A figure steps out into the flickering light. I tighten my grip on the pipe. Don't move. They halt, hands raised in a gesture of surrender. She's a woman in her late 20s, wearing a biology lab coat, tears running down her cheeks. Please, she says, her voice quavering. I've been hiding in the dark for hours. I heard voices. Bill keeps his gun trained. Show us your arms and neck. No bites or scratches. With trembling hands, she pulls back her sleeves, tugs down the collar of her shirt. I'm clean, I swear. All right, Bill mutters. Come with us to the main lab. But if you're lying, she nods rapidly, stepping forward. Her eyes dart between us. She's probably terrified we'll shoot her. I exhale slowly, trying to maintain composure. Let's get back. We lead her down the corridor. The tension is thick. Any new person could be the one who's secretly infected. We pass the windows again. I catch another glimpse of chaos outside. We reach the research lab door. I knock twice. It's me, I call. The door unlocks. Megan pokes her head out, relief washing over her face at the sight of me. Then her gaze shifts warily to the newcomer. She's clean for now, Bill mutters, stepping inside. Dr. Jones helps push a heavy metal cabinet in front of the door, adding an extra barrier. We're short on time. That siren outside means more trouble is coming. I swallow. Have you started any tests yet? He nods, gesturing to a small microscope station. Alex is working on a sample. We managed to get blood from one of the earlier patients at the health center, someone in an early stage of transformation. My biology training surges forward. If we can identify the virus, maybe we can figure out how it replicates or how it evades the immune system. Show me please, I say. Megan, me, and Dr. Jones gather around the microscope as Alex carefully stains a slide. Under magnification, I see a swirling mass of abnormal cells. My mind races. The structure is reminiscent of a lyssavirus, like rabies, except it's far more complex, with irregular protrusions that might allow it to latch onto host cells. This is advanced, I breathe. It looks engineered. Dr. Jones's eyes flick to me. Meaning what? Meaning it might not be natural, I say, goosebumps rising on my arms. If someone designed this, it explains why it spreads so fast, why it triggers these changes. A typical virus wouldn't cause such rapid necrosis and reanimation, let alone shape-shifting illusions. Megan's voice trembles. So it's man-made. Before I can answer, Bill curses from near the barricaded door. We all turn. He's looking at the woman we just let in, the one who claimed she'd been hiding in a classroom. She's trembling violently, skin starting to blanch around her cheeks. Oh God, she whispers, eyes rolling back. I don't feel right. Dr. Jones leaps to her side, but she staggers away, doubling over. Her flesh ripples. A wet, tearing sound echoes in the lab. Everyone gasps, stepping backward. My heart hammers. She's turning. Bill yells, raising his gun. The woman's body contorts, hair falling out in clumps, jaw distending in a grotesque way. A guttural moan escapes her lips, and her eyes, once normal, roll back to reveal milky whites. She swipes at Bill, who fires. The shot goes wide, smashing a glass cabinet. In a frenzy, she slams into Dr. Jones. He topples over, the two of them colliding with a lab bench. Instruments clatter to the floor. Blood drips from her mouth as she snarls, teeth snapping inches from Dr. Jones's face. I lunge forward, brandishing the metal pipe. In that split second, all I can think is, she was normal just a minute ago. The transformation is unbelievably fast. I swing the pipe and strike her shoulder. She jerks sideways, giving Dr. Jones a moment to scramble free. Alex leaps to help him. Bill fires again, this time hitting her in the upper chest. She screams, a ragged, inhuman sound, but doesn't go down. Cole, Megan yells from behind me, Look out. The infected woman swipes at me with clawed fingers. I barely dodge, stumbling against the lab bench. My heart pounds so loudly I can hardly think. Bill fires a third shot, this one to her temple. She collapses, twitching, a horrifying rattle echoing in her throat. Finally, she goes still. Silence slams down. No one moves. We stare at the body, blood pooling on the linoleum floor. Bill's gun is shaking in his grip. Dr. Jones grips his arm, breathing hard. Alex's face is ashen. Megan rushes over to me, checking if I'm hurt. I'm not, just rattled. I'm okay, I manage, but my voice wavers. She had a scratch on her leg, Bill says, voice thick. She must have been infected. Probably didn't realize it would spread that quick. That sets in a grim reality. Not all infections are from bites. A scratch or even contact with bodily fluids could be enough. Nausea rises in me as we stare at the corpse. The illusions are gone now. She's a grisly half-rotted shell, limbs contorted. She might have been normal not long ago, just wanting to survive. Dr. Jones clears his throat. We need a better test for infection. Otherwise, every new person we take in could be a ticking time bomb. Megan wipes her eyes. But how? If it transforms so fast, we can't wait for them to show symptoms. I glance at the lab equipment. We can try to detect the virus directly. A rapid PCR test, if we can find the reagents. Dr. Jones looks pained. We'd need a kit specifically designed to amplify this virus's genetic material. We can attempt to modify a standard kit if we figure out the primer sequences. Alex nods, though he looks shell-shocked. Yeah, that could work. But it might take hours. We all look at each other. Time is the one thing we might not have. This might still be our best chance, Dr. Jones says. If we can run quick tests on newcomers, we can keep ourselves safe. And if we study this virus further, maybe we find a weakness, a potential antiviral approach. A tense silence. Outside, a siren warbles. The emergency lights flicker. Bill lowers his gun, wiping sweat from his brow. We have to try. Otherwise, we're stuck trusting strangers at face value. We get to work. Dr. Jones begins rummaging through supply closets, searching for anything that might help us rig a test. Megan and I help, scanning the shelves of reagents, pipettes, primers. Every so often, we all glance at the body on the floor, a stark reminder of what's at stake. 2 hours later, the lab is a flurry of whispered activity. We've set up a makeshift PCR station on one counter, with thermal cyclers, reagents, and primer sets we've scavenged. Alex, who's surprisingly adept with advanced biotech protocols, is assisting Dr. Jones in designing custom primers that might latch onto unique regions of the virus's genome. Megan stands beside me, sorting test tubes. I notice her hands shaking. Hey, I say gently, placing a hand on her arm. You doing okay? She forces a shaky smile. Been better. Just this is insane. This morning, we were normal grad students. Now it feels like the end of the world. I nod, wanting to say something comforting but lacking the words. I settle for a small squeeze of her hand. Bill stands guard by the barricaded door with the fraternity student and Sarah, who occasionally helps with minor lab tasks. The rest of us focus on the analysis. You said it might be engineered, Megan says quietly. Why would someone create something like this? I exhale. Maybe it was a bioweapon or an accident at some research facility. I honestly don't know. She bites her lip, mind running a mile a minute. But you've studied viruses. Could it be a mutated version of something known, like rabies or HSV, or, possibly? I glance over at Dr. Jones. We won't know until we finish the primer design. Then we can see which known families it's related to, if any. A clang from outside the lab makes us all jump. Bill whirls toward the door, gun up. Silence follows. Probably debris falling, or possibly something else creeping around. Stay focused, Dr. Jones mutters, though his voice is tense. We need to finish this. At last, the test is ready. Alex prepares a sample from the infected woman's remains. A risky procedure, but we do it carefully, with gloves, face shields, whatever safety measures we can scrounge. Once the sample is placed in the thermal cycler, we start the process. A hush falls. It'll take some time. The machine whirs, lights blinking in a methodical rhythm. Bill checks the time on his phone. Self-service is mostly out. No new messages. Doesn't look like the authorities are containing this. My stomach twists. If the whole city is like our campus, half overrun by these disguised zombies, the situation must be catastrophic. Suddenly, a banging on the barricaded door shatters the silence. Everyone goes rigid. A voice calls from the hallway, "Let us in." "Please." Bill's face sets in grim lines. "Not again," he mutters, stepping cautiously toward the door. We hear multiple voices now, shouting over each other, desperate. "We're not infected." "Open up." Bill glances back at us. Dr. Jones gives him a wary shake of the head. But the voices are frantic. They're everywhere. They're chasing us. "Please." My gut clenches. If they're truly healthy, turning them away is condemning them to die. But we can't risk letting in more infected. Bill swallows hard. "We have a test now, right? We can check them. It's not fully validated, but yes," Dr. Jones says. "It takes time to run. And we only have so many reagents." The banging intensifies. "They're coming," someone screams outside. Bill curses under his breath. "I'm opening up. Keep your weapons ready." I step back, pipe in hand. Megan moves behind me, face pale. Sarah hovers on the other side, holding a makeshift scalpel. Carefully, Bill slides away the heavy cabinet and unlocks the door. It bursts open as 3 people stumble in, a man in a disheveled business suit, a woman in athletic gear, and a teenage boy wearing an oversized hoodie. They're panting, drenched in sweat. "Oh, thank you," the woman gasps. "We were," she cuts off, eyes flicking around at the lab equipment, at the corpse we tried to cover with a sheet. Bill slams the door, rebarricading it. "Stay back," he orders, pointing the gun at them. "Show us your arms, your neck, any injuries." They obey, trembling. The teenage boy looks terrified, tears streaming. The man's suit is ripped, but no visible bites. The woman reveals scratches on her knees, probably from falling, but nothing that looks like a bite. "We have a test," Dr. Jones says firmly. "We'll check your blood for the virus. Until then, keep your distance." The man nods frantically. Fine. Just thank you for letting us in." I exhale, giving Dr. Jones a look. He returns it, eyes shadowed. "We all remember what happened last time we let someone in." "All right," Dr. Jones says. "We'll need samples." We gather the supplies, sterile needles, small vials. The business-suited man, who introduces himself as Mark, goes first. We take a small blood sample, label it, then do the same for the woman Allison and the teenager Lewis. The PCR machine beeps, indicating the first run is done. Alex rushes over, checking the results. He exhales. Preliminary data confirms it's a novel virus. The sample from our infected subject shows a strong band at the target region. Megan peers at the readout. "So we can detect it at least." "Yeah, for that sample. But we don't know about other stages of infection." We quickly set up new runs for Mark, Allison, and Lewis. Dr. Jones warns them, "If any of you test positive, He stops short. We all know what must happen, but it's too grim to voice. They stand off to the side, fear etched on their faces. Time crawls. 10 minutes 20, while the samples process. My heart never stops hammering, certain one of them must be infected. Mark paces, muttering about what is this place, and we have to call for rescue. Allison tries to console Lewis, who huddles on a bench, shivering. At last, Alex examines the results. All negative, a collective sigh of relief. I see Bill slump, tension draining from his shoulders. "You see, we told you," Mark breathes. Dr. Jones nods, removing his gloves. "All right, you can stay. But if you feel any symptoms, tell us immediately." Allison dabs at tears. "Thank you." She stops abruptly, eyes flicking to the corpse under the sheet. She looks away, horrified. Lewis just whispers, "I want to go home," voice cracking. My mind is racing with the practicalities. We're accumulating more people, more mouths to feed, more potential liabilities. But I also can't turn them away. Megan gestures to an empty corner. "There are chairs there. Rest if you can." They nod, moving to sit. Dr. Jones pulls me aside, voice low. We have limited reagents for this test, Cole. We'll run out if more uninfected people show up. We need a plan, I nod. We might need to produce more or find another source. Possibly the chemistry department or a nearby biotech company. He rubs the bridge of his nose. We also need food and water or none of us will last. Before we can continue, the building's power flickers. The lights dim, then surge back. My throat tightens. If we lose power, the lab equipment becomes useless. Bill overhears. Do we have generators? Dr. Jones shakes his head. There's a backup generator, but it only covers the building's emergency lighting and certain freezers. Not enough to run all these machines at full capacity. We plan a route, first to the chemistry building, to see if they have a backup generator and any reagents that could help. Then to the student store for food and water. Dr. Jones places a hand on my shoulder, his expression heavy. Be careful. And if anything goes wrong, I nod, not letting him finish. We slip out of the biology lab, leaving Megan and the others behind locked doors. The hallway is silent except for the drip of a leaking pipe. The building's exit leads us onto a small side courtyard. Dusk is settling. The campus is draped in long shadows. We move in a tight group, scanning every corner. Where's everyone else? Mike whispers, glancing around. Either hiding or turned, Bill mutters. We pass a smashed vending machine, candy wrappers strewn about. A body lies nearby, half-eaten, the face mercifully turned away. I fight the urge to retch. The chemistry building looms ahead, lights flickering. We approach slowly. I notice footprints, trails of blood near the entrance. The door stands ajar. Bill raises his gun, stepping inside. The smell is overwhelming, chemicals mixed with rotting flesh. We make our way toward the storage rooms. Once or twice, we hear faint moans or scuttling sounds, but we don't see anyone. In a large supply closet, we hit the jackpot. A portable generator on wheels, plus some sealed containers of ethanol distilled water, potentially helpful. We also find protective gear, lab coats, gloves. Mike helps load what we can onto a rolling cart. The generator isn't huge, but it might power some lab equipment in the biology building if we lose main power. Let's check the back storeroom, I suggest. They might have equipment we can adapt for the virus test. We push the cart down the corridor, hearts pounding. The door to the storeroom is locked, but Bill finds a key ring hanging from a belt on a half-eaten body in the hallway. It's horrifying to retrieve it, but we do. The storeroom is a narrow space with shelves packed floor to ceiling. We scan the items, beakers, reagents, solvents, acids. Mike checks one shelf. Hey, these might be the polymerases we need for certain PCR steps. I grab them, forcing a grim smile. Great, we're set. Let's get out of here. Bill nods. The student store next, right? My gut clenches at the thought of going deeper into campus. But we need food. Yeah, let's move fast. We backtrack toward the building's exit, pushing the cart with the generator. The wheels squeak, painfully loud in the silence. At one intersection, I see a flicker of movement, someone peeking around a corner, then vanishing. My knuckles tighten on the cart's handle, but we keep going. Finally, we emerge outside again. The sky is even darker now, shadows stretching ominously. The student store is across a central plaza. We pass benches, toppled trash cans, the scattered remains of a campus event booth. Up ahead, I glimpse movement, 3 or 4 figures standing near the store entrance. Could be survivors or could be infected. Bill signals us to slow. The figures appear to be huddled, rummaging through a broken display window. I hear them muttering. They look normal, no overt signs of rot. But that means little. We exchange tense looks. If they're truly survivors, maybe they can help us. If they're infected, they might tear us apart. Mike breathes. What do we do? Bill grimaces. Approach carefully, gun ready. We start forward, the cart squeaking, announcing our presence. One figure whips around, eyes wild. The others freeze. A woman steps out of the shadows, brandishing a large kitchen knife. Stay back, she snarls. We found this place first. I raise my hands. We don't want trouble, just supplies. We're from the biology building, trying to run tests on the virus. Her eyes flick to the generator of the cart. You think that's gonna help, Before I can respond, a man behind her says, "Don't talk to them. They might be infected." Bill steps forward, gun visible but aimed at the ground. "We're not infected. We have a test if you want proof." They glance at each other. A tense standoff. Then, from inside the store, I hear a scream. A guttural, choking scream that cuts off abruptly. My blood turns to ice. What was that? The group near the entrance spins around, panicked. One of them yells, "It's Marcus." He went further inside. Bill lifts his gun. "Stay here," he orders. "Cole, come with me." "Mike, watch the generator." We move past the group, stepping through the shattered entrance into the dark store. Shelves are overturned. Snacks and bottled drinks litter the floor. The air smells like stale chips and something metallic, most likely blood. We hear a wet crunching sound from one of the aisles. My stomach lurches. Slowly, we edge closer, stepping over spilled candy bars. A figure is crouched over a body, face buried in the victim's torso, ripping flesh. My eyes burn at the sight of intestines. The infected's back is hunched, shirt ripped open to reveal blotchy, decaying skin. Marcus is presumably the victim, lying motionless. Another bystander turned into zombie food. A wave of revulsion and pity slams through me. The infected stands abruptly, twisting its head to face us. Its eyes glow with a milky sheen in the store's flickering fluorescent lights. Bill yells, "Stop," even though it's pointless. He fires, hitting the creature in the chest. It staggers but doesn't go down. Snarling, it charges, mouth dripping gore. I swing the metal pipe. It cracks against the zombie's temple, jarring my arms. Bill fires another shot, this time catching it in the head. The creature collapses in a heap. My lungs burn as I struggle to breathe. This close to the carnage, I'm fighting not to vomit. Bill looks shaky, but he recovers faster than I do. He scans the aisles. We're clear. I look at Marcus's remains, forcing myself to blink back tears for someone I never knew. Another victim, another tragedy. Bill grimaces. Grab what we can and go. We find backpacks near the checkout counter, stuff them with bottled water, snack bars, anything that's lightweight and high calorie. Outside, the group that confronted us stands in shock, seeing the gore on my clothes and the pipe. The woman with the knife stammers, is Marcus. He's gone, I say quietly, not meeting her eyes. She closes her eyes, tears slipping down her cheeks. The man behind her slumps against the wall, cursing under his breath. Come with us, Bill offers in a subdued tone, though I see his hand tightening on the gun. We can test you, keep you safe in the biology lab. Their eyes dart among each other. The woman sets her jaw. You have a reliable test. Even a cure, not yet, I admit. But we're closer than anyone else, I think. Another moment of hesitation, then they nod, subdued. Better than staying here, the man mutters. We lead them to the cart. Mike stares at the new group, old suspicion flaring. You sure they're not infected? Bill shrugs, we have to test them. For now, let's get back before it's fully dark. We push the cart, hurried steps echoing on deserted sidewalks. The sky is nearly black, the campus illuminated by sporadic streetlights. More screams occasionally ring out in the distance. At last, we see the biology building. Relief floods me, but also a spike of anxiety. What if everything's gone sideways while we were gone? We enter the building and climb to the third floor. We knock the agreed-upon signal. Megan unlocks the door, eyes widening at the newcomers. Really, another group, she murmurs. Dr. Jones helps us drag in the generator, while Megan and Alex check the new arrivals for obvious bites. Then we explain the test, taking blood samples as the same tension falls over everyone. Please be negative, the woman with the knife, Kara, whispers as her hand shakes. A half hour passes in excruciating suspense. Outside, a helicopter roars overhead, its spotlight sweeping the campus. Bill peeks through a small window, exhaling in relief. Military or police, maybe. They're out there, but that doesn't guarantee rescue. The outbreak might be citywide or larger. At last, Alex removes the final sample from the cycler. They're all negative. They're clear. Half the group sags with relief. A small victory in a sea of terror. But I notice Dr. Jones pacing near the corner, brow furrowed. What's wrong? I ask quietly. He glances at me. I've been analyzing more data on the virus. It's mutating fast. Some strains might not show the same markers our test detects. Cold fear trickles down my spine. So we could have false negatives. He nods, voice grim. If we don't constantly update the primers, we risk missing a new variant. This virus is unbelievably adaptable. In a corner, the newly arrived group whispers among themselves, relieved to be inside. Allison comforts young Lewis. Mark studies the windows, perhaps yearning to escape to his family. And I stand here, the truth pressing down on me like a lead weight. Even with the best test, we might miss an infected individual if the virus changes. We could still be harboring the undead. The night deepens. The lights occasionally flicker, feeding a collective anxiety. We top off the lab's freezers with the portable generator we hauled in, just to ensure the samples and reagents stay viable if the main power fails. Dr. Jones tasks me with refining the test. I spend hours hunched over the lab bench with Alex, adjusting primers, trying to account for possible mutations. Megan assists, fetching reagents and logging data. Our shoulders brush occasionally, offering each other silent support. Meanwhile, Bill and Mike set up a crude barricade in the hallway leading to the stairs. They lay out chairs, tables, anything that might slow an intruder. Kara and her group, 3 in total, stand watch near the door. Mark helps rummage through supplies in the storage closet, searching for anything valuable. By 3:00 a.m., exhaustion drags at everyone. We decide to rest in shifts, though it's impossible to truly relax. Every time I close my eyes, I see the twisted faces of the infected. I manage a short nap in a corner, then wake to muffled arguments. I sit up groggily. Mark is shouting at Bill, his voice tight with anger. "You can't keep us trapped here. We have to find a way to contact the outside world. My family could be out there." Bill rubs his temples. "We have no idea if it's safe. The entire city might be on lockdown." Dr. Jones tries to mediate. "Let's keep calm. Until we have a stable cure or an assured escape route, venturing outside is extremely risky." Mark paces, fists clenched. "You science types think you'll find a miracle solution here. Meanwhile, people are dying out there." He gestures wildly to the windows. I stand crossing to them. "Look, I get it. We all have people we care about. But going outside without a plan is guaranteed way to die." He glares at me. "So we just sit here and hope someone rescues us?" "That's your grand plan." "Not exactly," Dr. Jones says wearily. "We're close to understanding the virus's structure. That alone could be crucial. Maybe we can signal the authorities with our data. Or create a rudimentary antiviral." Mark's eyes flick to the blocked door. Time is ticking. I glance at Megan, who meets my gaze with silent concern. We're walking a tightrope, trying to maintain hope while the world outside might be crumbling. A sudden boom echoes from the first floor, like a door being forced open. Everyone goes dead silent. Kara looks at the rest of us. We might have company. Bill motions us to kill the lights. We scramble to shut off or dim the overheads and equipment, leaving only the faint glow of emergency exit signs. Slowly, we gather near the barricade. My heart beats so loudly I'm sure it will give us away. The pounding noise resumes. Footsteps, door frame splintering. Then guttural moans. No illusions this time. These are the fully transformed. Their voices echo in the stairwell. I catch glimpses of silhouettes below us through the small window in the door. Maybe 4 or 5, possibly more. We hold our breath, hoping they'll pass through, but we hear them ascend the stairs, sniffing, snarling. A deafening quiet drags on. Then the scuttling, scraping of nails on walls. One of them tries the door. The handle rattles. Then a frenzied pounding. "Barricade now," Bill hisses. Mike and I press ourselves against the improvised barricade. Kara and Mark scramble to reinforce it. Another smash against the door shakes it in the frame. Someone behind me whimpers, Allison, perhaps. The pounding continues. Each impact rattles my teeth. I can hear the creatures snarling as though they can smell us, desperate to get in. The barricade holds for now. Minutes crawl by. My arms quiver with tension as I brace against the door. The moaning, the scratching, the pounding, It's relentless. Finally, after what feels like an eternity, the noise recedes slightly. We hear them shuffle away, maybe confused or looking for another route. We don't move, hardly daring to breathe. Far below, a scream rings out, someone else in the building or perhaps in a neighboring hallway. The infected tear off in that direction. When the sound fades, I sag against the wall, exhaling in ragged relief. My clothes are soaked in sweat. Bill lowers his gun, face pale. "They'll be back," Dr. Jones murmurs, voice hollow. "If they hurt us once, they'll remember." We gather in a circle again. "We can't stay here forever," I manage, my voice unsteady. "They'll come in larger numbers eventually." "Agreed," Bill says. "We either find a new location or figure out how to kill them more efficiently." My eyes flick to the lab bench. A spark of an idea forms. What if we can create something like an aerosol or chemical weapon that targets the virus? Dr. Jones's brows knit. That's complex. We'd need to identify a vulnerability in the virus's membrane or replication cycle. I gesture to the half-completed analysis on the computer. We might be close to pinpointing the viral envelope proteins. If we can damage them, maybe the virus can't infect new cells. That might not help those already transformed, but it could slow the spread. Kara snorts bitterly. "So, we're cooking up a magic bullet in a college lab now." "Sounds like science fiction. We have to try," Megan says firmly. "Or do you want to wait until an army of those things storms in?" Kara falls silent, shame flickering across her face. With grim determination, we get to work. Dr. Jones and I bury ourselves in the virus data, searching for any structural weaknesses. We rely on the chemistry building solvents we brought, combining them with specialized reagents. After hours of trial and error, we concoct a rough solution, call it a viral inhibitor. It's not guaranteed to cure anything, but we hope it might disrupt the virus's envelope proteins if sprayed onto an infected or used as a disinfectant on surfaces. It's a faint purple solution, swirling in a beaker. Megan stares at it. Will it even work? I rub my tired eyes. In theory, it should hamper the virus's ability to bind to cells. But we only tested it in a Petri dish. Dr. Jones sighs. Still, it's something. If we have to fight those creatures up close, maybe we can spray them. Or spray a wound to prevent infection. I glance around. The lab has become a makeshift fortress, but it's only a matter of time before something goes wrong. Our group is exhausted, hungry but alive. Mark has grown more agitated as time passes. I spot him pacing near the windows, knuckles white. Allison and Lewis sit in a corner, sharing a bag of chips. Mike sleeps fitfully on the floor. Bill coughs suddenly, a deep, rattling cough. Everyone looks at him. He waves it off. "I'm fine," he mutters. But doubt creeps into my mind. Has he been exposed? I motion to Megan. We slip away to a quiet corner. We should test Bill again. Just to be safe. She nods, worry in her eyes. We approach him, explaining gently. He resists at first, but eventually relents, letting us draw a small blood sample. While the PCR runs, Bill paces. I'm not infected. Just a scratchy throat. The test finishes. Negative, we all exhale in relief. But the near scare leaves everyone uneasy. Dr. Jones signals me over. We need to check the building's perimeter again. Make sure no new hordes have gathered. I nod. Mark overhears and volunteers to help. Surprised, but I accept. Maybe it'll calm his restlessness. We carefully descend to the second floor. The corridor is dim, littered with debris. I note bullet holes in the walls, a patch of dried blood on the floor. Signs of prior struggles. At a window overlooking the main courtyard, we peer through the cracked glass. Dawn light reveals a half-dozen infected roaming aimlessly. They look partially decayed, but still move with unsettling speed. Mark stares with barely contained horror. This can't be happening. My wife, my kids. I hope they're safe. I hesitate. Where do they live? Just north of the city, he murmurs. I need to go to them. I look at him. We will figure out a way. But blindly running out there is idiocy. He shakes his head. I can't wait forever. We gaze down at the creatures in the courtyard, rummaging through some scattered trash. They look like savage predators, but I also notice something else, One of them looks almost normal from behind, its hair and clothes intact. But when it turns, half its face is gone, revealing bone. My stomach churns. They can appear normal from certain angles. That's how they hide among us until it's too late. We return to the lab, hearts heavy. Dr. Jones organizes a meeting. We need a game plan. This building isn't safe for long. The stairs are compromised, the windows are fragile. Kara crosses her arms. Where else can we go? Off campus, it's possible, Dr. Jones says. But the city might be just as bad, if not worse. We haven't received any official broadcast in hours. The phone networks are spotty. Mark speaks up suddenly. We can't just hide forever. What if the rest of the city is being evacuated? That's speculation, Bill growls. Arguments break out. We're all on edge, battered by stress and hunger. Suddenly, the lights flicker again and a hush falls. The overhead lamps dim, flicker, then fade out completely. Emergency lights kick in, casting the lab in eerie red tones. A beep from the computer signals that the main power is gone. Dr. Jones rushes to check the generator. It's on, but it can't power everything. Our advanced lab equipment goes dark. No, Megan gasps. We needed that for further tests. I clench my teeth. We might have enough backup to keep the freezers cold, but the big machines are offline. Kara curses. Great, now what? A swirl of despair threatens to overtake us. Then Dr. Jones squares his shoulders. We adapt. Keep the freezers running. We can still do basic tests under battery power. Let's just stay calm, but calm is far from how I feel. I notice Bill stepping back into a corner, that rattling cough returning. He tries to hide it, but it draws my attention. My stomach twists. Could the test have missed a mutated strain? Mark, still restless, grabs a flashlight. I'm going downstairs to see if I can fix the power. That's dangerous, I say immediately. Don't go alone, he glares at me. Well, who's coming then? Dr. Jones hesitates but eventually volunteers. I'll come, maybe it's just a breaker or a generator feed. They prepare to leave. My instincts scream that this is a bad idea. Splitting up is a classic mistake. But the alternative is letting the building remain dark and vulnerable. Before they go, Megan hands them 2 vials of the purple, viral inhibitor. Spray it in a zombie's face, maybe it'll slow them, she murmurs, though none of us are sure if that'll really help in a fight. I watch them vanish into the stairwell. My chest feels tight, every fiber wanting to keep them from wandering off. But we're out of options. Time drags as the rest of us wait in tense silence, the red emergency lights casting our faces in a hellish glow. Bill leans against a wall, sweat beading on his brow. Sarah tries to read an anatomy textbook by flashlight, probably just to distract herself. Mike paces near the door, listening for trouble. 10 minutes pass. Then 20. No sign of Dr. Jones or Mark. I try to quell my fear. Maybe the breaker is further away or they're checking multiple floors. Megan's voice is tight. They should be back by now. A sickening possibility looms. They've been attacked or turned. Bill coughs, pushing off the wall. I'll go find them. I meet his gaze. I'll come with you. We gather our weapons, my metal pipe, his gun. Megan wants to join, but I shake my head. Stay here, keep everyone calm. If we're not back in 15 minutes, barricade the door. She opens her mouth to protest, but finally nods. We slip into the stairwell, flashlight bobbing in the gloom. The building is unnervingly quiet. On the second floor landing, my flashlight beam catches smeared footprints. Fear prickles my skin. We follow the footprints down another flight. Then we find Dr. Jones, alive but collapsed against the wall, clutching a bleeding wound on his arm. I rush to him. What happened? Where's Mark? Dr. Jones grimaces, pain etched on his face. He attacked me, my mind reels. Mark, why? He tried to bite me. Dr. Jones's voice trembles. I think he was infected all along, or he got infected somehow. He turned on me. I sprayed him with the inhibitor, but Bill curses. Where is he now? Dr. Jones points down the hall, eyes glazing with shock. He ran. I managed to fight him off, but he bit me. My heart twists painfully. Dr. Jones is infected. The man who has been our mentor, our leader, our best hope for a cure. Bill kneels, checking the wound. We need to get you upstairs, test you again, see if the inhibitor can do anything. Dr. Jones grabs Bill's collar, eyes wild. If I turn, you kill me. Don't let me become one of those. Bill's jaw tightens. We'll do what we have to. We half-carry Dr. Jones back up the stairs, my mind racing. Mark must have hidden his infection. Our test might have missed it, or it mutated. Now he's out there, probably fully transformed, cunning enough to pretend otherwise. We finally reach the lab. Megan gasps at the sight of Dr. Jones's wound, hurrying to get bandages. Alex and Sarah scramble to set up the PCR test, hoping to confirm what we already know. Kara hovers near the edge of the group, eyes flicking between Dr. Jones's wound and Bill's unsteady demeanor. He's infected, isn't he? She says quietly. We ignore her, focusing on cleaning the wound, applying the inhibitor solution directly onto it. Dr. Jones winces, tears streaming down his cheeks. We'll see if this slows it, he manages. We take a blood sample. The lab is mostly dark, lit by flashlights. The PCR machine sips power from the generator. I watch the readout anxiously, Megan at my side. Minutes pass like hours. Finally, the results appear. A single faint band in the infection zone. He's positive, Alex mutters, voice hollow. A hush falls as Dr. Jones closes his eyes, shoulders shaking. Megan gently takes his hand. We'll keep trying. Maybe we can refine the inhibitor. There's a chance, he shakes his head. Cole, Megan, if I start to lose control, you know what you must do. Tears blur my vision. I remember nights spent in the lab with Dr. Jones, listening to his stories about research breakthroughs. He gave me guidance, believed in my potential. Now he sits here with a mortal wound. We move him to a side bench, carefully monitoring his condition. The mood in the room is grim, overshadowed by his impending fate and Mark's betrayal. Bill wipes sweat from his brow, that cough growing worse. I can't help but eye him nervously. Are we about to lose two more? Bill leans against the wall, hacking coughs shaking his frame. I exchange a worried look with Megan. She sets up a test for him too, just in case. Then we wait. When the results come in, my heart drops. The virus in Dr. Jones's sample is still in there, maybe even more robust. The test reveals new markers we haven't seen before, like it's adapting to the inhibitor. He's definitely infected, Alex murmurs. And it's evolving, Megan's shoulders slump. So the inhibitor didn't cure him. It might have slowed outward symptoms, I say quietly, but inside the virus is mutating. Bill's test is negative, which is a small mercy. Still, the man looks haggard, coughing sporadically. Possibly just a nasty cold or stress. Dr. Jones lies on a makeshift cot, eyes half-lidded. I approach him, my stomach twisting. We tested your blood again, Doc. He knows what that means. How long, he rasps. No one answers. It could be minutes or hours. Suddenly, from the hallway, we hear a commotion, shouts followed by scraping. We rush to the barricade, hearts pounding. A figure stands outside, battered and bleeding. At first I think it's a random survivor, but then the shape looks up, a horrific grin twisting a partially decayed face. I can't believe my eyes, it's Mark. He hasn't fully rotted like some of the others. Half his face is intact and somehow he's still able to speak, or at least approximate speech. Cole, he hisses, voice slurred. Let me in. My blood runs cold. The intelligence in his eyes, even clouded by infection, is chilling. He starts hammering on the barricade, with more method than the mindless zombies. Kara gasps, he's talking. Mark croaks out a laugh or something like it. You can't hide in there. I'll tear you apart. He rams the barricade. The entire structure of chairs and tables shudders. My hands tremble on the pipe. Bill lifts his gun, fires through a gap in the barricade. The bullet grazes Mark's shoulder. He staggers but doesn't retreat, a sick grin peeling back his lips. I see advanced necrosis on his exposed flesh, but he stands upright, purely driven by the virus. He tugs at the furniture, trying to dislodge it. We need to reinforce it, Mike shouts, pushing a desk against the door. Allison helps, tears streaming down her face. Mark hammers again. The entire barricade shifts. More undead shapes appear behind him, drawn by the noise. Great, now we have a small horde. Cole, Megan calls. We can't hold this forever, she's right. The barricade is cracking. Bill fires again, hitting Mark's torso. He stumbles, snarls, tears at the door with unnatural strength. In desperation, I grab a vial of the inhibitor. Could it do anything if sprayed directly on him? Probably not enough. But maybe we can slow him or confuse him. I crawl under a table, close to the barricade. Mark's decaying arm reaches through a gap, clutching wildly. I uncork the vial and fling the purple liquid at him. It splashes onto his face and arm. He shrieks, a harsh, rattling sound, and recoils. The acid mixture must be burning his flesh. Push now, Bill yells. We heave the barricade forward, crushing his arm. He howls, staggering back. The other, infected behind him, press forward, but for the moment, Mark is disrupted. Bill empties the last bullets into the crowd. Some go down, others keep thrashing. We're losing ground. We can't hold them off, Sarah cries. Retreat, Megan shouts, grabbing Dr. Jones's arm. He's barely conscious, but we hoist him between us. We scramble through the lab, heading for the opposite hallway. The infected, led by a screaming, half-transformed Mark, smash through the barricade. Furniture flies as they pour into the lab in a wave of rot and hunger. We dash for a rear stairwell we haven't used yet. The door is locked, but Mike kicks it open with surprising force. We pile inside, Dr. Jones's weight dragging me down. My arms tremble with the effort of half-carrying him. Kara and Allison slam the door shut behind us, turning the deadbolt. The infected pound on it almost instantly. This door won't hold long. We race down the stairs. The building shakes with the chaos above. Our group is fracturing. Some move too quickly, others lag behind with Dr. Jones. On the first floor, we push into a corridor leading to a side exit. It's chained from the outside. I hear the infected's footsteps on the stairs, their unearthly moans. Bill and Mike ram the door repeatedly, trying to break the chain. A link snaps and the door flies open. We spill onto the grass outside, cold air hitting my face. The campus is a battlefield. Infected roam the walkways, some half lurking in shadows. Smoke from nearby fires hangs in the air. Sirens wail in the distance. Where do we go? Megan cries, supporting Dr. Jones. We can't stay near the building. The infected behind us are already flooding out, including Mark's monstrous shape. We have to move. Parking garage. Bill wheezes between coughs. Maybe find a vehicle to escape in. We glance at Dr. Jones, who's barely coherent. I sense the virus creeping deeper into him. Still, we hurry across an open lawn. I spot shapes converging from the left and right. We're basically fish in a barrel. Lewis, the teenage boy, stumbles. Allison helps him up. The shapes draw closer. 3, maybe 4, possibly more. They appear normal at first glance, but we know better. They rush us, faces peeling back in mid-run to reveal blackened teeth, milky eyes. We fight them off with pipes, a few leftover bullets from Bill's gun, but they keep coming. Dr. Jones slumps, moaning. Megan cries out, he's burning up. I lash out with my pipe, catching a zombie in the jaw. Another leaps at Mike, who manages to tackle it, then scrambles away before it can bite him. Bill fires, but the gun clicks, empty. He throws it aside, resorting to fists. Kara stabs with her knife, screaming in rage. By some miracle, we push through. I see the parking garage across a small service road. We dash, Dr. Jones leaning heavily on me. The infected remain on our heels. We reach the garage concrete entrance. It's dark, the overhead lights out. The place feels like a tomb, rows of silent cars, shadows everywhere. A perfect place for zombies to hide. But we have no choice. We slip inside, trying to move quietly. The moaning behind us fades for a moment. Maybe they lost sight of us. I look around, breath ragged. We need a car with keys. Mike shakes his head. These belong to random students. No keys inside, unless someone left them in the ignition. A wave of despair. Then we're stuck. Bill points, security offices might have a master key or something for official vehicles over there. We gather, limping deeper into the garage. Dr. Jones breathes in raspy gasps, eyes fluttering. I fear he's only minutes from turning. Near the garage office, we find a shuttered gate. Inside, I glimpse a campus security truck. That could be our salvation. Bill tries the door, locked. He curses, rummaging for something to break it. Suddenly, Dr. Jones seizes again, letting out a tortured moan. Megan drops to her knees beside him, tears streaming. "Stay with me," he thrashes, black veins spreading across his neck. In a surge of clarity, he grips my wrist. "Cole, we can't let it spread." I choke back tears. "We'll stop it, Doc. We'll find a cure." He looks up, eyes milky. "If I turn you, kill me." Then he spasms back, arching, teeth snapping at the air. Bill and I pin him down. He's changing now. Skin modeling, voice turning to guttural snarls. My throat closes. This is it. Megan looks at me, tears on her cheeks. "We can't let him become one of them." Dr. Jones's eyes roll back. He snarls, lunging with sudden strength. I raise the pipe, heart screaming in protest. He convulses, letting out a final breath that ends in a monstrous hiss. His eyes fix on me with savage hunger. I act on instinct. I bring down the pipe on his skull. A sickening crunch. Megan sobs, turning away. Dr. Jones goes limp, blood pooling around his head. My vision blurs with tears, my breath hitching. The man who taught me everything gone. A silence settles, broken only by Megan's soft sobs and my own ragged breathing. Mike, Cara, Allison, Louis, Sarah, they stand back, horror etched on their faces. Bill swallows hard, the lines of his face etched with grim acceptance. It had to be done. I stare at the blood on my hands. This is the cost of survival. We slowly pull ourselves together. Time is short. The infected might return any moment. We push on, searching for a way into the security office. Bill finds a crowbar. After a few tries, he pries the gate open. Inside, the security truck rests. Keys might be in a locker or a desk. We rummage around in near darkness, flashlights dancing on the walls. Cara finds a small desk with a lockbox. She smashes it open with the crowbar. Inside, a ring of keys, presumably for campus vehicles. "Here," she yells, tossing them to me. My hands still tremble, but I force myself to focus. We approach the truck. The first key I try doesn't fit. The second slides in and turns. The engine coughs but doesn't start. I try again. It roars to life. A fleeting surge of hope. We have a car, everyone piles in. Bill takes the passenger seat, scanning for threats. The rest cram into the back. It's tight, but we manage, panting from adrenaline. Megan is silent, tears shining in her eyes. Dr. Jones's blood is still on my clothes. I grip the wheel, hang on. The truck lurches out of the office area, driving through the dark garage. Headlights stab into the gloom, revealing columns and parked cars. My heart is a thunderstorm in my chest. We near the exit ramp, seeing daylight at the top. A handful of infected wander near the exit booth. They turn at the sound of our engine. I press the accelerator. The truck surges forward, smashing through the half-lowered barrier gate. The creatures shriek and lunge, but we plow past them. The vehicle skids onto the campus roadway. Smoke, debris, scattered bodies. The city skyline looms beyond. We have no idea what awaits us. We drive cautiously through campus. The truck bumps over curbs and around abandoned cars. The scope of devastation is jarring, windows shattered, fires smoldering. Bodies litter sidewalks, some half devoured. Occasionally, an infected leaps from a hidden spot, forcing me to swerve. The others hold on for dear life. "Where do we go?" Megan whispers. Bill coughs, wiping sweat from his face. Outside the city. Maybe the military set up checkpoints. We pass a sign for the highway. I glance at Megan, remembering Mark's talk of a family in the suburbs, and Dr. Jones's vow to contain the virus. None of it matters if civilization is gone. At a traffic light, the truck jolts to a stop behind a jackknife bus. We can't get around it easily. It's a dead end. I scan the area, infected roam the street. "Reverse now," Mike shouts. I throw the truck into reverse, tires squealing. We turn onto a side street, nearly hitting a lamppost. Adrenaline screams in my veins. Downtown looms ahead, tall buildings with broken windows. Sirens wail in the distance, but no sign of official rescue. A crashed police cruiser sits at an intersection, lights still flashing. Go that way. Bill points to a sign indicating the freeway ramp. But half the ramp is collapsed, blocking traffic. A group of infected stand on the debris, swaying. We're forced to detour again, turning onto narrower residential streets. Overturned trash cans, bullet-riddled storefronts, scattered personal belongings. A dog barks somewhere, then goes silent. Eventually, we emerge onto a partial freeway on-ramp that seems intact. I press the pedal, merging onto the highway. My eyes flick to the rearview mirror. Everyone's huddled together, stony-faced. Megan meets my gaze, tries to give a reassuring nod, but tears linger on her cheeks. The highway is a graveyard of abandoned cars, some with doors open, suitcases spilled onto the asphalt. We weave around them slowly. The smell of gasoline and death permeates the air. Ahead, we spot a checkpoint, concrete barriers, military vehicles. My heart lifts. Are they still operational? We slow the truck. Soldiers wearing hazmat-like suits wave us forward cautiously. Bill leans out the window, coughing. We're not infected. A soldier points a rifle, barking orders. Another soldier holds up a scanning device, stepping toward our vehicle. We park and the soldier yells, "All of you out, hands up." We have to screen you. We comply, hearts racing. We form a line by the side of the road. Another soldier jabs us with a device that beeps or flashes green for each negative. My mind jumps to the PCR test we had. Maybe the military has a faster method. When it's Bill's turn, the device flashes red. A hush falls and my stomach plummets. Bill coughs violently, tries to speak. I'm not infected. Two soldiers seize him, forcing him to his knees. He struggles weakly. I step forward in protest. Wait. Our test said he was negative. The soldier shakes his head. He's positive now. Must be a new strain or a late onset. Bill's eyes widen in terror. No, this can't be. He breaks into a coughing fit, flecks of blood staining his lips. Before any of us can react, a soldier raises a pistol and fires a single shot into Bill's head. Megan screams. Blood spatters the asphalt. We stare stunned. Allison clamps a hand over Lewis's eyes, but he's already seen it. The soldier lowers his gun, eyes hard behind his visor. Anyone else want to protest? Anger and grief knot in my chest, but I don't move. We just lost Dr. Jones and now Bill. The soldier motions us aside. Another soldier, presumably a medic, steps forward. We're taking you to a containment camp. You'll be tested again, quarantined. This area is lost. Kara bristles at camp. Like a prison, the soldier's tone is robotic. It's for your safety. The infection is spreading too fast. We can't risk letting infected individuals slip through. I think of Dr. Jones's research. We have data on the virus. We were close to making a test and inhibitor. It might help. The soldier eyes me suspiciously. We have our own scientists. You can give them your info. But for now, stand down. Megan clutches my arm, trembling. We're disarmed, herded into a military transport. They confiscate our bag of notes, the few vials of inhibitor we have left. The engine revs. I meet Megan's eyes, seeing the reflection of our horror. We tried so hard to find a solution, but in the end, we're powerless in the face of military protocol. The transport rolls down a highway corridor lined with barbed wire. We pass more military vehicles, watchtowers with searchlights. The city recedes behind us, smoke rising in the distance. Eventually, we arrive at a sprawling camp, a series of tents, fences, and gated checkpoints. Soldiers wearing protective gear mill about. We're led through a medical screening area, ordered to strip to our underclothes. It's demeaning, but we comply. They check every inch of skin for bites. By nightfall, we're exhausted, lying on thin mats. Megan and I speak through the fence in low whispers. She touches my hand through the chain link. Thank you for everything you did. I swallow. I wish it was more. We drift off into uneasy sleep. Chapter 11. A glimmer of hope morning comes with a jarring wake-up call, soldiers shouting for everyone to line up. We file out, blinking in the harsh daylight. They load us onto an open-air transport truck, driving us deeper into the camp. A row of tents stands near the edge, each marked with red crosses. Medical facilities. We're told to disembark. Inside one of the tents, I see rows of lab tables, equipment, whiteboards filled with frantic scribblings. Scientists and medics rush about in controlled chaos. That evening, the camp is abuzz with the news of a universal test. Soldiers talk about systematically screening everyone, possibly retaking the city with confidence. The tension lifts, if only a bit. Megan and I stand by the chain-link fence near the perimeter, gazing at the setting sun. The sky is streaked with blood-red clouds. She rests her head on my shoulder, and for a moment, I allow myself to imagine a future where we defeat this virus. A siren blares suddenly, cutting through the relative calm. Soldiers sprint to the main gate, rifles raised. Shouts echo, "They're here." The fence, they're climbing the fence. My blood runs cold. The infected are attacking the camp directly. The illusions that let them pass, as humans might have gotten them close. We rush forward, seeing shapes in the darkness beyond the fence. They're more organized than the shambling hordes I'm used to. Several infected scale, the barbed wire with unnatural agility. The guards fire, dropping some. Others keep climbing. Spotlights sweep across the perimeter, illuminating rotting faces and twisted limbs. But the horrifying part is how many still look mostly human, just a vacant stare or patch of discolored skin. An officer yells into a megaphone, "Y'all personnel, prepare for an assault. Maintain defensive positions. Our new test is worthless if they break through in force." Gunfire rattles. Explosions flicker. I see a group of soldiers wrestle with an infected that's half-shifted, still able to speak. An infected leaps down from the fence, roars, tears into a soldier's throat. Another soldier stabs it with a bayonet. The chaos is overwhelming. Megan grips my arm, eyes wide with terror. "Cole, we have to get back to the lab." We turn, dashing toward the medical tents. Civilians scream, stampeding for shelter. The loudspeakers crackle with panicked instructions. We burst into the main research tent, finding Dr. Idris and her team in a frenzy. They're grabbing laptops, data drives, anything they can carry. If the camp falls, we have to preserve the research. Dr. Idris snaps, stuffing documents into a binder. We can't lose the universal test. I grab a portable hard drive and quickly transfer our sequences. Megan does the same with the raw data. My heart pounds so violently, I can barely operate the computer. Outside, the gunfire intensifies. The tent flaps ripple with each concussive blast. I hear shrieks, both human and inhuman. Dr. Idris motions to a soldier at the tent entrance. "Secure us an escape route." He steps out, only to be tackled by an infected. Shots ring out. The soldier collapses, the infected letting out a triumphant snarl. It lunges into the tent. A lab assistant screams. Dr. Idris ducks behind a metal table, eyes frantic. Megan grabs a tray of surgical tools, flinging them at the creature. It swipes them aside. My mind reels. No weapons except for a small scalpel. The infected sniffs the air, focusing on me. Its face is a grotesque mask of half-decayed features. I spot a small container of acid-based reagent on the bench. Without thinking, I snatch it and hurl it at the infected. The container smashes against its chest, liquid searing flesh. It screeches, staggering. "Run!" Dr. Idris yells, leading a charge out the back of the tent. We scramble over collapsed tables and cables, hearts in our throats. Outside, the camp is in chaos. The fences in several places are breached, infected flooding in. Soldiers try to form defensive lines, but they're overwhelmed. We see more horrors. A mother cradling her child, both turning gray and veiny in real time. A cluster of infected swarming a supply truck. Megan clutches the hard drive to her chest, her face ashen. "Cole, we can't stay here." I grab her hand. "We'll find a vehicle, something." We dash between tents. Dr. Idris and a handful of scientists follow, clutching boxes of lab equipment. The sky is dark, lit by spotlights and burning wreckage. We spot a small convoy of military Humvees near a watchtower. Soldiers are loading wounded, preparing to evacuate. Dr. Idris shouts, "We have critical research." A soldier waves us over. We sprint toward them. Suddenly, an infected leaps from behind a tent, tackling Dr. Idris. She shrieks, dropping her box. The creature rips into her throat. I jerk to a stop, horror freezing me. Megan pulls me forward. No time. I can't save Dr. Idris. The soldier in the Humvee fires, hitting the infected, but Dr. Idris's body is limp, blood pooling. We hurry to the Humvee. The soldier inside yells, "Get in now." We pile into the back seat. The engine revs, tearing across the field. The last I see of the containment camp is a swirling mass of infected, roaring flames, and soldiers desperately fighting. Inside the Humvee, the soldier glances at our shell-shocked expressions. But where to? Megan's voice trembles. Anywhere away from here. We clutch our precious data. The universal test, the partial notes for an inhibitor. It could be humanity's best chance, if anyone is left to use it. As the Humvee speeds into the night, the radio crackles with fragmented reports. Entire regions compromised, government lines fallen, scattered enclaves forming pockets of resistance. I exchange a look with Megan, our hands intertwined. We have knowledge that might save lives, but we're fleeing, uncertain of our next destination. The soldier driving curses under his breath. No one knows if this is a local outbreak or a global apocalypse. The virus hides in normal-looking people until it's too late. The illusions, the transformations, the cunning infected like Mark. The vehicle rumbles onward. We stare into the darkness, listening to the haunting echoes of destruction behind us. We may have a test, but that alone won't stop an enemy that can wear our faces, slip into our ranks, and tear us apart from within. A single question gnaws at my mind as we race toward an unknown future. Are we already too late? That's the end of today's story. If you enjoyed the video, subscribing to my channel would help me out more than you can imagine. I appreciate you, and I'll see you soon.